For many years, Cindy and I wanted to go to Turks and Caicos in the Bahamas. We read about it. We dreamed of lying on a deserted beach, completely relaxing. And finally, in 2015, we decided to do it. And not only were we going, I was going to take a vacation Sunday, a Sunday where I wasn't preaching here or anywhere else, which is very, very rare for me, which, by the way, let me just pause there and say I have not set a good example in that regards. The 4 times a weekend physical and vocal toil from speaking is tough. That's why I'm trying now to speak fewer weekends. My voice and body can't sustain the load, and I've set a bad example for our younger pastors, so thanks for understanding that. Anyway, we booked a room at what looked like the best resort on the island. We checked out all the pictures of the amazing room. We read the reviews. We packed. We were fired up. And then we got there. Our beautiful room wasn't. Didn't look anything like the pictures. There was one wooden dresser, apparently from the 60s, with drawers that wouldn't open unless we both braced ourselves, grabbed on, and pulled together. There was no box spring for the lumpy mattress. The shower was part of the tub. That's okay, I get that. But there was no shower curtain, no glass doors, nothing. When you took a shower, the whole bathroom took a shower with you. Our TV didn't work. We called and asked for repair. No one came. We finally muscled the ancient dresser away from the wall, and I fixed the TV myself. First night in the amazing, high-rated restaurant, I didn't get what I ordered. Not just one little thing wrong. I got a completely different meal. And the waiter said, "Sorry, I wrote down the right thing. I said the wrong thing." He said they would rush the right food. Instead, I sat and watched Cindy eat. My meal never came. I've always wanted to sail a catamaran. I scheduled a lesson. The hotel's activity director said, "Come back at 2, I'll be here." I did, he didn't. I waited until 4 o'clock, he never showed up. The beautiful white sand beach was exactly that, but it was filled with sand flies, the biting kind. Cindy, who loves the beach, couldn't take it. On day 2 of our long-awaited rest break, over a $65 hamburger, I looked at Cindy and said, "Have you had enough?" And she said, "Yep, let's go home." We were home by Thursday on our big rest break. When it's time for the shuttle to the airport, it wasn't there. No surprise, they were finishing like they started. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that I haven't mentioned the name of the resort, Parakeet, because I don't want to get sued. But if you're ever planning to go to Turks and Caicos, don't. If we hadn't set our expectations so high, we might have enjoyed it. We expected amazing first-class resort. Instead, what we got wasn't even second or third class. We had our hopes high. Our reality wasn't close. The ultimate vacation let down. I have learned the gap between expectation and reality is where people become disappointed and disillusioned. When your reality doesn't match your expectation, you struggle. Let me show you. So if you play golf, you start the round with some kind of expectation of your score based on the amount you've practiced, your ability, whatever. If you score better than expectation, you are excited. If you score worse than your expectation, you're ready to quit golf, throw your clubs in the lake, and take up bowling. It's true in golf. But it's also true in important parts of life. When you get engaged, you expect married life to be worry-free, trouble-free, and one long honeymoon, because after all, that's how dating was. And for the first few days, it is. Then you have to face the reality of life. Bills, schedules, bad days, morning breath, and all of a sudden, what you expected doesn't match your reality. What you expected was a fantasy. Wasn't realistic at all. But that doesn't matter. You're disappointed with what you got. I told our team, we need to change the way we do pre-marriage counseling. We need to lower expectations. We need to tell people when they first come in first meeting, you need to rethink this. Because I want to tell you something, you're going to be miserable. This is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. There are going to be days you wonder what in the world you were thinking. Let's make sure they know real relationships don't look like the ones on social media or in the movies. Let's get their expectations way, way low so perhaps reality can be better than their expectations, and then they won't make stupid decisions based on unrealistic expectations. Now, don't worry. That was my pre-marriage counseling plan, but the team told me we couldn't do that, so we still lie to people who are going to get married. And when you come in from pre-marriage counseling, we'll lie to you. So people make family plans, how many kids they'll have, what order the kids will come in, boy or a girl, what age they'll be. They got all that mapped out. And then when expectations doesn't meet that, they're disappointed. You do it financially, what kind of house you're going to live in, what kind of car you're going to drive, what kind of vacations you'll take, how much money you'll have. People make horrible decisions and go into deep holes of debt, not because they need something, but because they're desperately trying to live up to their expectations. You do it with your kids. You expect them to be a valedictorian, football star, class president, and cheerleader, whatever. Even if you never did those things, that's your expectation for your child. Then when they don't like football, don't want to be a cheerleader, have no interest in school government, make B's and C's, you're disappointed. Your kid's wonderful. But you heap pressure on them because they don't live up to your expectations, which, by the way, may not be God's plan for their life. You even do it in your relationship with God. You feel like God has promised you certain things, even though that's not in the Bible. We're often guilty of selling people that life with God is trouble-free, worry-free, peace-filled, bursting with joy, or rising above every challenge kind of life. Then when circumstances get messed up, when trouble comes and your reality doesn't match your expectations, it's hard to know what to do with God and what to do with your faith. People walk away from church. They walk away from God. They walk away from other Christians because what they got wasn't what they expected. When your reality isn't what you planned on, you face disappointment. And for many of you, it's too late to adjust your expectations. You're in the disappointment gap. Your reality is a far cry from your expectations. So what do you do? How do you handle it when the things you hoped and planned and dreamed of aren't working out? How do you deal with that? And how do you move beyond the disappointment? I want to look at a story from the Bible where King David had to deal with a devastating reality that was the exact opposite of his expectations. Now, we looked at this last week and talked about what to do when your dreams have died. Now, same story, different perspective, how to handle disappointment. Let me set it up. King David's favorite son was Absalom. He raised and trained Absalom to be king, to one day lead the nation when David died. That was the expectation. But the reality was far different. Absalom turned against his dad. And over a 4-year period, he manipulated, he lied, and he deceived the people of Israel. He was sneaky. He hung out by the gates, and when people came to see the king, he would stop them before they got there and say, hey, I know you came to see the king. King doesn't care about you. King doesn't have time for you. King's busy. Now, wouldn't it be great if someone was leading the kingdom who cared enough to listen to your every problem and solve them? If I were king, I could do that for you. And people learned if you wanted quick answers, you went to Absalom. And over time, the people's hearts began to turn towards Absalom and away from the king. This would be like my oldest son, Tyler, standing outside as you come into church saying, my dad doesn't care about you, but I care. If you make me pastor, I will love you and care for you. I'll have lunch with you every week. You don't need an appointment to see me. You just walk in. My phone will never be on Do Not Disturb. You can call me 24/7. I will dedicate your pets. I will dedicate your house. I will dedicate your car. I'll do anything you want me to do. And I'll never change things. You don't have to worry about gravel in the sanctuary. I'll just do what you want. If you don't like a song, we'll never sing it again. Matter of fact, we won't change songs. We'll just sing what you've always liked. You can have the same seat. You can even have the same chair you've always sat in because it is conformed to your shape. Same parking place. I will do everything to make sure the selfish little you is perfectly satisfied. If Tyler said that and you decided to follow Tyler, can you imagine how much that would hurt? I would be betrayed by you and my son. People respected David, but they loved Absalom. Absalom wanted to be king, but he didn't wait for his father to die. Once the people were on his side, Absalom decided to take the kingdom by force, and they sent word got to David that Absalom won the hearts of the people. He's going to take over the kingdom. He's going to come. He's on his way to Jerusalem. He's going to get you. And so David decided, I got to leave. And he told all his people and his family and his household, we got to get out of town. And so they did. And they set off down the road. Everybody loaded up on the donkeys, everything they could carry, and headed out of town. With the entire nation against him, David looked into the future and he recognized it wasn't going to go the way he expected. None of his plans would work out. Betrayed by his own son, David and his family packed their stuff, headed out of town, and as David rode out of town, he had to be wondering, how in the world did this happen? This was never part of the plan. I never expected this. How will I ever recover? David was deeply hurt and horribly disappointed by a devastating reality. In his despair, David wrote a song. Psalm 31 expresses the depth of his disappointment. It's an accurate picture of how disappointed you are when reality doesn't match your expectations. Starting in verse 9, David said, be merciful to me, Lord, for I'm in distress. My eyes grow weak with sorrow, my soul and my body with grief. My life is consumed by anguish, and my years by groaning. My strength fails because of my affliction. My bones grow weak. Okay, we know it's bad. David was riding out of town, not sure if he'd ever return to his kingdom, but this is overly dramatic. In his disappointment, David completely forgot the blessings and promises of God. Now, his life is consumed by anguish, his years by groaning. That's what happened. Disappointment causes you to lose perspective. I'll admit, sometimes that happens to me too. Someone leaves the church, they get mad, and then they walk away from faith. And especially in that initial moment, I have a tendency to lose perspective, to make that bigger than it is, to take it very personally. It's easy to do. You say things like, I'll never get out of debt. My marriage will never be healthy. My kids will never do right. Everyone's talking about me. Nothing ever goes my way. Everything always goes wrong. You make big sweeping statements. Life is bad and it will never be good again. Disappointment does that to you. As you face it, even in the initial moments, you lose perspective. And you need to recognize that words like always and never, those are red flags that you've lost perspective, that you've become problem-focused instead of God-focused. David continued. He said, because of all my enemies, I am the utter contempt of my neighbors. I'm a dread to my friends. Those who see me on the street flee from me. Not true. They were lining the streets, weeping to say goodbye to David as he rode out of town. But David said, I'm forgotten by them as though I were dead. I've become like broken pottery, for I hear the slander of many. There's terror on every side. They conspire against me and plot to take my life. He is obviously emotional. And when things pile up, you become paranoid. What could possibly be next? Could it be any worse? And when you do that, you make your reality even worse than it is. And the result of all that disappointment is you want to quit. I quit on God. I quit on church. I quit on my marriage. I quit on my family. I quit on the people who love me and have my best interests at heart. Nothing is working out the way I planned. I quit. You wouldn't blame David for thinking that way. After all, he was king, and now he is far from the palace, riding out of town on a donkey. Who would blame David for quitting? But David's song took a turn. He began with all the feelings and all the emotions. Then starting in verse 14, now David models for us how to deal with disappointment. If you're currently in a situation where your reality doesn't match your expectations, tune in now to learn how to deal with it. David said, but in spite of it, even though I don't understand, even though I'm disappointed, even though my reality is a far cry from my expectations, I trust in you, Lord. And I say, you are my God. My times are in your hands. Even when reality doesn't match your expectations, trust God. Trust your Heavenly Father. Trust that He will continue to direct and bless and protect. Trust that He is in control. Trust is easy when everything's going your way, isn't it? When your kids are good, the bills are small, you're making lots of money, everything's going right, everyone loves you, you got the promotion, you got straight A's. Trust is easy. Anyone can trust then. The true test of trust is how you respond when your reality is disappointing. In those moments, you'll learn what trust is all about. David wrote, my times are in your hands. Deliver me from my enemies and from those who pursue me. Let your face shine on your servant. Save me in your unfailing love. This seems simple, but when you're disappointed, ask God for help. Doesn't have to be a fancy prayer. David's wasn't. David prayed, God, deliver me, save me, help me. So pray, ask God for help. Come to the front and ask people for help, to pray for you. If you say, well, if I go to the front, people will think something is wrong. Yes, something is wrong. That's why you need prayer. Ask for people to pray. Ask God for help. David continued, let me not be put to shame, O Lord, for I have cried out to you. But let the wicked be put to shame and lie silent in their grave. Let their lying lips be silenced. For with pride and contempt they speak arrogantly against the righteous. David was venting to God. They're wicked, arrogant, prideful liars. Everything David was thinking, he told God, go ahead, pour out your frustrations to God. God, I don't understand this. I don't like this. This isn't what I expected. I didn't sign up for this. It's not fair. God, I'm frustrated and I'm mad. Now, can you really talk to God that way? Yes. David essentially prayed, God, shut them up or kill them. He was honest with his feelings. So many times you vent to people and then you put on a good face for God, a good happy face for God, so He won't know what you're thinking. Come on, you can be honest with God. He already knows what you think and feel. Tell Him. It's okay to say it out loud. In fact, it's a wonderful way to deal with it. So here's what that looks like. Go outside on a walk. Don't do this like right next to your neighbors. Get a little distance. Then give it full voice. Yell. Vent. Tell God everything you think. Tell God how unfair it is. Tell God how ticked off you are. Do all that. If you can't go outside, you can come here to the sanctuary and do it. It's all right. Preferably not during service, but come here to the sanctuary and just pour it out. Tell God everything you're thinking. God can handle that. And as you pour out your feelings and emotions to God, you discover the power in expressing your frustration. David said, how great is your goodness, which you have stored up for those who fear you, which you bestow in the sight of men on those who take refuge in you. In the shelter of your presence, you hide them from the intrigues of men. In your dwelling, you keep them safe from accusing tongues. Praise be to the Lord. For He showed me His wonderful love when I was in a besieged city. David's remembering. In my alarm, I cried out, I'm cut off from your sight. Yet you heard my cry for mercy when I called to you for help. This isn't the first time David had been in trouble. This isn't the first time David faced difficult circumstances and was chased by intimidating enemies. David looked back and he remembered what happened in the past, and every time God came through. This is the biblical equivalent of the song we just sung. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and he answered me. When you're facing a disappointed reality, remember what God has done in the past. Remembering what he's done in the past helps give you faith and hope for what he'll do in the future. It gets your eyes off your current situation, and it refocuses you on the love and the power of God. David said, now I want you to picture this. Remember the situation. He's on the back of a donkey. They're riding out of town. He's lost the kingdom. Everything that he ever planned is gone. His son turned on him, and all of a sudden David starts singing. He turns the rest of the people behind him and says, love the Lord, all his saints. The Lord preserves the faithful, but the proud he pays back in full. Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord. David said, my hope is in the Lord. My reality is the opposite of what I expected, but I refuse to quit. I will not let disappointment defeat me. I am maybe on a donkey headed out of town. Everything and everyone may be against me. My son's turned on me. I've lost the kingdom, but my hope was never in any of that anyway. I will stay faithful to God because my God preserves the faithful. And David would say to you, and he would say to me, I know you didn't expect this. I know this doesn't seem right or fair, but get your hopes up. Be strong, take heart, because God preserves the faithful. You say, but Rod, I don't have a reason for hope. Neither did David. David didn't have any natural reason for hope, but you don't serve a natural God. You serve a supernatural God who delights in the difficult and the impossible. So get your hopes up. Get your hopes up. You say, Pastor Rod, this is the most schizophrenic message I've ever heard. At the start of this message, you told us to get our hopes down, and now you're telling us to get our hopes up. I don't know which to do. Here's the importance balance point. Our hope is in the Lord, not in our plans. Trust his plan instead of your plan. Trust that he knows what's best. Even when your reality is far different than your expectation, you can trust him. Trust God's plan for your life. Trust God's plan for your marriage. Trust God's plan for your children. Trust God's plan for your finances. Trust God's plan for your future. Give up your plan and trust his plan. Even though everything looks over, you're disappointed and defeated, God still has a plan for you. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Some of you, your plans haven't worked out. Your plans won't. But God has a plan and purpose for you, and his purpose is far greater than your plan. David trusted God to restore him. David trusted God to keep his promise in spite of his current reality. Now I want to skip way ahead. I mean, we're skipping a bunch of Bible here. Because 2 Samuel 19:14 tells the end of the story. Look at this verse. This is so encouraging. They sent word to the king, return, you and all your men. And then look at the next four words. My favorite part of the whole story. Then the king returned. David returned to his kingdom and his throne. David is fully, completely restored by the power of God. Listen to me. God will bring you through the disappointment, the doubt, and the fear. God still has a plan for you. God still has a purpose for you. Even when you think there's no way, he still has a purpose and a plan. And just like David, God will restore everything you've lost. I get it. I know your current reality is far different than your expectations. I understand. You never imagined this. This doesn't line up with your life plan. You never saw this. You can still trust God. And that won't stop his purpose. Lord, I pray for people in this room. People watching online who their current reality is far different from what they expected. Lord, I pray you would restore their hope. And in the middle of disappointment, like David, they would trust you and trust that you have a plan and a purpose. And that you would restore everything they've lost because you're faithful, Lord. You're a faithful God. If you're here and you're in that situation, you're dealing with this disappointment because what you expected isn't what you got, I want to pray for you. Would you stand? We're going to pray. Say, what are people going to think? They're going to think you're dealing with disappointment. Stand and we're going to pray together. All right? Our pastors and prayer pastors are coming, and if you're standing, I want you to come stand across the front. We're going to pray for you. Come on. We're going to pray for you. And we're going to pray that your faith and hope in Jesus will be restored. We're going to pray that in the face of a situation you never expected, that you'll trust him and you will discover him to be faithful and he'll prove himself to you. We're going to pray that everything you've lost will be restored because we serve a faithful God. We're going to pray his plan and his purpose for your life. Now I want to ask everyone else to stand with me. If there's someone down here you want to pray with, would you come stand behind them or put your arm around them, put your hand on their shoulder? And we're going to believe God together right now because he restores. Come on, let's pray together.